So now we have a question that what happens to the constructors and destructors while we are using the inheritance. So basically two questions arise. The first question is, when are the base classes and derived class constructors and destructor functions called? So it means that you have a base class, it has some constructors and destructors there. You have a derived class, it has its own constructors and destructors. So we are asking the question here that when are these constructors called? Are the base class constructors executed before the derived class, or the reverse is true? Which is the order of execution of constructors and destructors in the base and the derived classes? And the second question is, how can parameters be passed to base class constructor functions? So it happens that when we are using inheritance, we create the object of the derived class, okay, and when we create the object of the derived class, we initialize all its data members. Some of its data members can be inherited from the base class, some of its data members are its own data members, okay. So how are the data members which are being inherited from the base class, how are they initialized? How we pass these parameters to the base class constructors, okay. So here is the answer to the first question. The first question was when the constructors and destructors executed. So because the base class has no knowledge of the derived class, the base class is created first, and when it is created, it has got no knowledge of any derived classes. So any initialization it needs to perform is separate from and possibly prerequisite to any initialization performed by derived class. So any objects which are created for the base class, their initialization is separate from the objects of the derived class, because the base class has no knowledge about the derived class. And also the initialization of the base class is prerequisite to the initialization of the derived class. Obviously, because if the base class is initialized, only then the derived class can be initialized, okay. So therefore the base class constructor must be executed first. So similarly, it is also quite sensible that the destructors should be executed in the reverse order of derivation. That is, when you are constructing, then base class will be constructed first and then the derived class will be constructed. And when you are destroying, then derived class will be destroyed first and then the base class will be destroyed, okay. Because the base class underlies the derived class, the destruction of the base object implies the destruction of the derived object, okay. So if the base class is destroyed first, any derived class will obviously be destroyed, okay. So the correct order must be first the destruction of the derived class and then the destruction of the base class. Derived class destructor must be called before object is fully destroyed.